Welcome to Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by our co-host, Michael Cohen. We've got a lot to discuss, Cohen, so let's just jump right into it with this disastrous cabinet meeting that just finished a little bit ago. Donald Trump falling asleep. This is a real picture of him, audio listeners. He kept on falling asleep throughout it. He was making weird faces throughout it. We'll give you some of the lowlights of what went down there. Donald Trump believed that this is currently a holiday week, so he didn't really wish anybody a happy Thanksgiving until after Thanksgiving. Then he referred to Governor Walz by using the R word, and now he's saying, I want to wish everybody a great holiday week. What the hell is he talking about? Here, play this clip.
Actually, and I just want to wish everybody a great holiday. We've I think done a great job with the White House, bringing the White House back. You see the Palm Court that was redone.
Then
okay,
he
so what
to-
he's what he's talking about is this is the last cabinet meeting for the year. And so what he's talking about is, since he's not going to be seeing you again, or you're not going to be fortunate enough to see him and the idiot group of enablers there at the table, he's wishing everybody, in his way, a happy Easter, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Okay, then he goes and talks about getting a letter A on a cognitive exam that he just took, that he got the letter A, he says. Here, let's play it.
I took my physical. I got all A's, everything. But they said to me, would you like to take a cognitive test? I said, is it hard? They said, yes. I said, well, I'm a very smart person. Who was the last president to take one? No president has ever agreed to take one. Because when you get into the mid-questions, meaning, 10, question number 10, 11, 12, 28, 30, they get harder and harder. And they said, would you like to do it? I said, well, no reason to do it. Nobody's ever done it. I'll do it maybe, but there's really no reason. They said, sir, the problem is this is Walter Reed Hospital. And that's a military hospital. And that means that things are, sort of open. It's not like private where you have, if you do poorly, we'll have to, probably you'll find out. I said, I won't do poorly. I'm a smart person, not a stupid person. And as the doctor will tell you, I aced it. Right, Susie? I aced. I got every question right. And these are tough questions. These are questions that I would say 99% of the people that I'm talking to right now, meaning the people from the fake news, would not do well in those exams.
Mr. President, can you please tell us what the mathematical constant representing the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, also known as pi, what it is equal to? Yeah, blueberry pie, possibly cherry, maybe apple, because it's that season. You get an A, sir, an absolute A.
Cohen, you've known this guy for a long time, although the last time you saw him was at his criminal trial we were a witness against him and he was convicted on 34 felony counts. What are you observing? There you are. We always have this photo apparently ready to go for if I ever say that. Right, that's good, great work, Jeremy. We always have this photo available. Yeah, because it wasn't part of the stack of today's content.
3.1459. Somebody looked it up for me. It's called Google. It's great.
I forget. Was he? I know there were lots of instances when he was sleeping at the trial. When you were testifying, did he fall asleep at all?
Yes. Yeah. Let me also say, and people get angry at me, oh, you're defending Trump. He's not sleeping there. I watched him do this over a course of now almost 2 full decades. If he's not speaking and you're not talking about him, he's bored. So he closes his eyes. I don't know why he does it. He closes his eyes. In fact, during the 100 hours that I was the key witness in 2 different cases, I don't think his eyes were open for more than 5 minutes. It's not sleeping, all right? It's legitimately disinterest. If I don't see it in his mind, it's not happening. It's not going on. And if you're not talking about him, notice that his eyes never closed. For example, when Nancy Mace was kissing his ass, all right? Basically saying that Donald Trump has managed to somehow ensure that there are no hurricanes. And he did it with his red Sharpie again, right? Or that he's managed to bring in, according to Shady Vance or Scott Bessent, he's brought in $28 trillion in tariff monies. His mouth is not hanging open. His eyes are not closed. He's involved. It's when, for example, RFK Jr. was talking about medication and this and that. It's basically his sign to you, piss off. I've talked about me enough. Now I need you to talk about me. That's what it's all about.
During your testimony, how many hours did you testify for, and how many hours were his eyes closed?
Oh, I would say that each day was probably 10 hours, and maybe his eyes were closed 9.5 of the 10 hours.
A day.
He wouldn't look at me. I actually wanted him to look at me. In fact, the few times that he opened his eyes, I actually tried to get him, to look my way. Only once or twice, actually, during like my 4 days of testimony, was I successful in looking at one another, and so on. That was the look. He was disinterested in the whole thing, was not sleeping. He was not snoring. He was not breathing loud. He was just disinterested, plain and simple.
So your view, having known him his whole life, if you're not talking about him or flattering him, basically he closes his eyes to show you that I really don't even want to hear that, and he just pretends that what you're saying does.
I mean, if Jeremy has the clip, for example, of RFK Jr. speaking, you'll notice that's when he closes his eyes. Then compare that for a moment with, again, Nancy Mace or anybody else, any one of those enablers around the table. You're the greatest. There's nobody better. You've done more for this country. You've saved, according to Nancy Mace, he has saved all of America, because without blowing up these boats in the Caribbean, that every single American would have overdosed from fentanyl.
Yeah, you're saying Nancy Mace. You're talking. I know she flatters him. Do you also mean Kristi Noem?
I'm sorry, I'm talking about baby puppy killer Kristi Noem, not Nancy Mace.
Yeah, because Kristi Noem at this cabinet hearing told him that the hurricanes didn't hit the country this year because he stopped the hurricanes. Yep. She said that he saved hundreds of millions of lives in America, more than the actual population, by blowing up these fishing boats and committing these war crimes. She made comments to that effect. We'll just show you RFK speaking and Trump with him close here. Let's play it.
If you lived in New Jersey and you moved to Oregon and you got injured.
Yeah.
If you lived in New Jersey and you moved to Oregon and you got injured, you went to a hospital, you would have to spend maybe 45 minutes filling out forms on a clipboard, because your doctors there could not get your healthcare records. They couldn't get your blood type.
Yeah. I mean, no interest in what RFK was saying. When he ended up opening his eyes, then looking at him, it really wasn't looking at him of interest in what he's saying. It's to tell him to shut the fuck up.
This is what he said about Pete. He says Pete is doing a great job. Let's play it.
And then we said, let's change the name. So we changed it back to what it was, Department of War, and Pete's doing a great job. We ended 8 wars. Think of that.
Yeah. Is it 8, 9, 10? In fact, all you need to do is just start doing like what Midas Touch Network does all the time. You start taking the various comments that he has made time and time again. 7 wars, 8 wars, 9 wars. It may even be 10, according to him. I mean, it's incredible. It's like, let's say Pete Hegseth has a fight with Scott Bessent, or Bessent has a fight with what's the guy's name? Sean Duffy. All of a sudden, he stopped a war. I'll make it 11. I mean, that's how crazy this table of fools are, where all they keep doing is just blowing smoke. These are not cabinet meetings. These are sessions in order to enhance Donald Trump's own ego.
We'll talk more about Hegseth in a moment, but here Trump says he should get a Nobel Peace Prize. Let's play it.
ended 8 wars. Think of that. 8 wars, but we're going to do one more, I think. I hope. I hope. Every time I end a war, they say if President Trump ends that war, he's going to get the Nobel Prize. If I end that war, well, he won't get it for that war, but if he ever gets it for the next war, now they're saying if he ever ends the war with Russia and Ukraine, he's going to get the Nobel Prize. What about the other 8 wars? India, Pakistan. Think of all the wars I ended. I should get the Nobel Prize for every war, but I don't want to be greedy.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be, right? Could you imagine, Ben? Let me ask you a question, because I know that you interviewed somebody on this. Didn't the president of India turn around and say that Donald Trump had nothing to do and that they weren't even at war?
Yeah, the president of India, well, the foreign minister of India and the president of prime minister of India, Modi, and their foreign minister and others, I mean, have just repeated Trump had nothing to do with this at all. India said that it resolved on a bilateral basis and entered into a ceasefire with Pakistan on a bilateral basis after the terrorist attacks in Kashmir. And it's actually been a major point of the sovereignty of India, because Trump's saying, I dangled a trade deal in front of India. And then India was like, oh, please, Donald, this is what we want. We'll stop the war with Pakistan. You know, when India is a prideful country, it's one of the fastest growing economies in the world.
I mean, not Donald. Please, sir. Please, sir. They begged me, sir. Sir, please don't impose those tariffs because we'll be poorer than poor.
Yeah,
and so they just stopped the war. I mean, it's really comical if you think about it.
And there's no trade deal with India, you know, now. And, you know, and Pakistan, they said, oh, yes, Donald, you made the deal. Thank you, Donald. And then you know what they did? Pakistan then invested in Trump's crypto company, World Liberty Financial. And then their chief of staff took a trip and met with Trump in the Oval Office. And that further pissed off India, that you basically dumped India for Pakistan, and this has irreparably harmed the relationship between the United States and India. Now, going through some of these clips right here as well, show you what else Donald Trump said after that. Jeremy, let's play the next one where Donald Trump says that there is no murders in Washington, that there have not been a single murder in Washington since he put the National Guard there. How about the murder of the National Guard? And how about the fact that there are murders in Washington? Like, we have the stats, like there were murders. And there was a very high profile one that just took place recently involving someone who Trump granted asylum to in April of 2025. Let's play it.
Embarrassment that the city, the capital of this country, could have numbers like that. And Washington now is, I mean, no murders, no this. It's been a miracle also what happened here. And now we're in Memphis, and we're going to New Orleans pretty soon. Over there, the governor called me. He'd like to have us go there. Governor Landry, great guy, great governor.
And then over here, he says that affordability is a scam. The word affordability is a Democrat scam. Let's play it.
But our prices now for energy, but for gasoline, are really low. Electricity's coming down. And when that comes down, everything comes down. But the word affordability is a Democrat scam. They say it, and then they go into the next subject. And everyone thinks, oh, they had lower prices. No, they had the worst inflation in the history of our country.
You know what's great? That he put out just the other day a post on Truth Social. I don't know if Jeremy has it, where he actually refers to himself as the affordability president. So my only question that I would ask him, if I was granted access, say, to the briefing room or to Air Force One as a journalist, as an independent journalist, is affordability a Democratic scam or a hoax? And he would say yes. Then why did you call yourself the affordability president? That's what I would love to see some of these journalists actually do. Jeremy, if you have it, just throw it on up for a quick sec, because it is truly, I guess it is the example of talking from both sides of your mouth.
Show you right here, Donald Trump saying that he stopped inflation. right in its tracks. Here, play this clip.
Since last January, we've stopped inflation in its tracks. And there is still more to do. There's always more to do, but we have it down to a very good level. It's going to go down a little bit further. You want to have a little tiny bit of inflation. Otherwise, that's not good either. Then you have a thing called deflation. And deflation can be worse than inflation.
Just think about the message that's sending to the American people right now who are suffering, who are psychologically tortured, living paycheck to paycheck, who can't afford rent, who are going out and know that things are way more expensive because of Trump's tariffs and Trump's disastrous policies. But let's be clear, what Trump ran on is deflation, right? He specifically said he was going to take prices, let's say something was $5, and he was going to make it $3. He said he would make the actual prices cheaper. In fact, he said he would do it on day one, just like he would end the war in Ukraine on day one. These were ridiculous promises. We were calling it out as fraud, while we were also calling out the Project 2025 agenda. But like it or not, people voted for this guy based on those promises. And here we are a year into the term, and Trump is still blaming Biden. And Trump is saying, why? Of course, I was being sarcastic on Ukraine and affordability. It's a made up word. And so, it seems that the Ponzi scheme, it seems that the con job is hitting a point with the American voters who are now saying, all right, look, 3 months in, all right, 6 months in, all right, 9 months in. We're like a year in.
The funnier part, Ben, to the whole thing is during that shit show called the cabinet meeting, he sat there talking about the affordability that he has done with this concept of favorite nation medication. He started with 500%, 600%, 700%, 800%, 900%. I almost felt like I was watching Storage Wars, but like a bad version of it. Can we just spend a half a second? And is there anybody here who's actually seen their drug prices go down? Well, not according to Trump. It had nothing to do with Joe Biden, because I actually remember when Biden, and then wasn't across the board like what Trump is talking about. I just remember there were things that Biden was doing, like the cost of insulin. He was bringing it down to levels where people can actually afford, that they don't have to then water down their insulin or only take half an injection so that they can have food on the table. So sure, if we can all get favored nations pricing and so on, but here's the thing that he just doesn't understand, right? This is much bigger than the price of medication. It goes so much farther than that. And what he does is he takes the piece of sand and he says that piece of sand is the whole beach. There's, the one tree is the whole forest. And that's the problem. But as you just said, Ben, the American people, they're not buying the bullshit anymore. You know why? Because when your kid comes home and tells you, I'm hungry, and that kid's parents aren't Democrat, they're either independent or Republican, because from the snap cuts that they just did, 42 million Americans, you know how many of them? At least half are Republican. At least half. Those folks, they don't give two shits what he's talking about. They know that their kid is going to school without having a proper meal. They're coming home to not being able to afford a proper meal. And that affordability issue is what's helping Democrats right now in terms of favorabilities.
No doubt about it. Let me share with you what Pete Hegseth had to say during this cabinet meeting. First, he said there are going to be more strikes on fishing boats. Let's play that one first.
I'll say again, we've only just begun striking narco boats and putting narco terrorists at the bottom of the ocean because they've been poisoning the American people. And Joe Biden tried to approach it with kid gloves and allowed them to come across the border. Cartels take over community, 20 million people, hundreds of thousands of Americans poisoned. And President Trump said, no, we're taking the gloves off. We're taking the fight to these designated terror organizations. And that's exactly what we're doing. So we're stopping the drugs. We're striking the boats. We're defeating narco terror.
You know what it kind of reminds me of too, watching that? Like, the movies where, I don't know, maybe the movies isn't a good example, but where you have like the very kind of addled, elderly person whose son wants the inheritance and is like saying all the nice things like next to dad or grandpa. And what we should do is, because of this brilliant man right here, he's taking his gloves off and he's telling Donald Trump what he wants Trump to hear. But he's saying that at a time when we're very much aware, and the American people are very much aware, that very serious war crimes have been committed by Hegseth, by the admiral who was instructed by Hegseth and then gave the orders to SEAL Team 6, who effectuated these orders, and that everybody in this chain of command is likely one day, if Trump isn't able to seize power forever, or you don't have a Vance or Rubio presidency, these are people who will likely be tried for war crimes. Seems like a pretty slam dunk
And
case.
by the way, rightfully so.
Yeah, right. These are war crimes.
This whole issue with double tap, it's, as I wrote in my Substack, today, I actually thought double tap was something different. That's when, that slovenly individual at your table takes the French fry or the mozzarella stick and sticks it into, the ketchup or the tomato sauce and, then puts it in for a second time. But no, this is much, much more grotesque and disgusting, because really what you have here is you have people who are clinging onto wreckage from a blown up little aluminum boat. And then you hear from them, kill them all, sending in a second round of attack on people who are defenseless. It is not only illegal. That's why I constantly say, and I think everybody's sort of getting it a little bit wrong, Ben. I'd love to get your take on it. Everyone's saying this is a war crime. And I say, no, it's not. It can't be a war crime because we're not at war. So I turn around and say what they could be charged with is murder one, because that's the way I see it. I see this as murder one. You got a guy sitting there hanging onto a piece of wreckage in the water, and then you go ahead and you start shooting at him, right? Why don't you just send SEAL Team 6 in to drown him while you're at it? I mean, this is out of control. I say it's murder one. Again, in order for it to be a war crime, don't you have to be at war?
No, I think you're right about that. The former top JAG lawyers, the Judge Advocate Generals, many of them who have been fired by Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth because they wanted to get away with this conduct. They give that analysis. They go, it's murder. It violates various international laws, and it's a war crime, no matter which analysis you view it at. So they go through all 3 or 4 different analyses, and they're relatively kind of similar. The whole operation is either a war crime or unlawful to begin with, or a crime against humanity. Right? There's nothing before the double tap or double strike, the initial strike, unlawful.
And Ben, the funnier part here is, according to Keg Breath and according to Trump and all of these, again, these idiotic acolytes at that table of stupidity, each and every one of them are sitting there and they're placating to the president, right? They're blowing smoke up his ass, but they're claiming that these strikes are necessary in order to prevent drugs from coming into this country to kill our entire country. But yet, didn't Trump just pardon the Honduras president, who was actually one of the largest narco distributors in the world in history?
Well, I want to talk about that because Trump says that individual, Juan Orlando Hernandez, was subject to a Biden witch hunt. You know who the lead prosecutor was, Cohen, of Juan Orlando Hernandez's brother and of this entire case against them? It would be Emil Bove, Donald Trump's personal lawyer, top guy at the DOJ, now a Court of Appeals judge. Trump guy, Emil Bove. You saw him at the trial. He was one of the lawyers on the trial team in Trump's criminal case and in the other case as well. That guy was the lead federal prosecutor against the Hernandezes and did a good job. He put them behind jail, so much so that Bukele, Trump's guy from El Salvador, was attacking Emil Bove and mocked Bove when he resigned or left the federal prosecutor's office as saying, look, that showed how weaponized it was that Emile Bove basically left. And now you have Bukele basically cheering on what just took place in kind of the ultimate, it just demonstrates what we're really dealing with here. And yes, Juan Orlando Hernandez, the former leader of Honduras, gave safe passage and was involved in a conspiracy with the Sinaloa cartel. There was testimony in a federal case in the United States which talked about how this guy, Juan Orlando Hernandez, would say things like, let's get that drugs up the gringo's nose and kill him. There was witnesses, went through a whole federal prosecution. The guy was found guilty, sentenced to 45 years, as was his brother, and Trump pardons this guy. And Trump says he pardoned him because people in Honduras told him to pardon him. Yeah, the people in Honduras who want narco drug trafficking. Those were the people who told you to do it. And so what it really comes down to is, who is Donald Trump helping out right now? Narco terrorists like Juan Orlando Hernandez, people like Putin, people like Xi Jinping. Who's Donald Trump attacking? NATO, Zelensky, Japan, Taiwan, Ukraine. That's just
and the greatest part is also they're talking about cocaine coming through. That's not coming from Venezuela. Then the fentanyl isn't coming from from Venezuela. It's coming through Mexico.
Absolutely.
So
there's no fentanyl. There's no fentanyl coming from Venezuela. None.
I mean, or so little that it's just not measurable in terms of other places where it's coming in from. And I'm all for stopping drugs from coming into America. Don't get me wrong, and you've heard me say this in the past. I lost my two closest friends in the world. One who is my friend since the age of 5, the other at the age of 11. That I've known them, and they both overdosed, but not on fentanyl, not from cocaine. They overdosed because of the Sackler family, because of opioids. So you really want to start with something. Let's start right here at home with this horseshit opioids. All right, let's start right there. And yeah, fentanyl, it is an absolute killer. Don't get me wrong, but why don't we go after where it's being manufactured? And that, my friends, is not Venezuela, nor, by the way, can any one of those boats carry enough fentanyl on it within which to kill 100,000 Americans, as they keep trying to say. They throw out these facts, or these expected perceived facts, that have no basis in reality at all. And there is nobody at that table of fools that's willing to turn around and say to the president the first time that a misstatement like that is made, that's not right. All right, let me give you the real facts. So in that way, when you speak, you don't have to worry that the press is going to attack you because they're fact-checking you, which he doesn't like. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to give you real information so that it gets validated, instead of another article talking about how his numbers, his facts, and so on are all fugazi.
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of a lot? When Putin needed a pretext to invade Ukraine, what did he say? Denazification. That Zelensky, who's a Jew, was actually a Nazi, and that it was a Nazi regime, and Russia was defeating the Nazis. And we all looked at that like, that. What the hell is he talking about? I mean, not to say that there are zero elements in Ukraine that have anti-Semitic views. I mean, there are, but that's not a systemic thing of a pretext for invasion at all. It's a made-up pretext so that Russia could invade and commit a genocide in Ukraine. And we looked at that as like denazification and the letter Z. Like, what are they talking about? Well, Trump's narco trafficking pretext is kind of like Putin's denazification, right? He tried to use it as a pretext first to invade Canada. And yes, he wanted to invade Canada and make it a 51st state. He uses that as a hook. Mexico, he's talking about narco trafficking. And yes, there are elements of it that need to be addressed.
Absolutely.
But he wants to use it as a tool for invasion, and he sees no distinction between Canada, Mexico, China, Venezuela, whatever it takes for him to push through his own authoritarian agenda. And meanwhile, 70% of Americans do not want America to invade Venezuela. And all the Trump regime is saying also is, we're going to take their oil. Our oil companies are going to be so rich. And Americans are like, what are you doing, man? Like, just help us. Like, we're struggling right here. Few things quickly. A lot of people may think that they're subscribed to our YouTube channel, but a lot of people don't realize that they're not actually subscribed. They just get it on their homepage. So if you're watching this, subscribe to the Midas Touch YouTube channel right now. Make sure you're subscribed. Second, make sure you subscribe to Michael Cohen's YouTube channel at The Michael Cohen Show. So subscribe here and then search at The Michael Cohen Show. Subscribe to the Mea Culpa audio podcast, wherever you listen to audio podcasts. And subscribe to Michael Cohen's Substack. That's just Michael Cohen on Substack. We'll be right back. Cohen's going to give the two-finger salute. We'll see you shortly.
You know, every time I think I've seen the worst of how our financial system operates, I'm reminded of one universal truth. Fresh start, same system. Banks win, you pay, the fees pile up, the calls come in, and it feels like the only thing growing faster than your debt is your stress level. Unless, and here's the good part, you fight back. And that's exactly why I'm talking about PDS debt, because they've already helped hundreds of thousands of people cut their debt and put money back where it belongs, in their pockets, not the banks. Look, whether it's credit cards, medical bills, or that personal loan you took out because life happens, PDS debt has custom options built around your situation. And they don't treat you like a number on a spreadsheet. They look at your real world finances and they build a plan designed specifically for you. And hear me on this. There's no minimum credit score. None. They're here to help you save more, to pay off your debt faster, and actually breathe again. They're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, thousands of 5-star Google reviews, 5 stars on Trustpilot, and there is a reason for it. Why? Because PDS has helped hundreds of thousands of people get out of debt. Real people, real relief. And here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Every month you wait, it costs you more. Interest and fees don't magically shrink. And the best time to start is actually not today. It was yesterday. And the second best time is right now. And listen, I use this and you should too. I don't put my name on things that I don't believe in. So don't wait another month. Don't wait another second. Take back control in 30 seconds. Get your free personalized assessment and the best option for you at pdsdebt.com/beat. That's P like Peter, D like David, S like Sam, debt, DEBT.com/beat. And one more time, pdsdebt.com/beat. Go there now. Look, my friends, you know, I don't get excited about a whole lot these days, at least nothing that doesn't involve accountability, justice, or, I don't know, maybe a good pastrami sandwich. But dupe.com, I'm obsessed. I've been showing it off to everyone. And yeah, I'm pulling it up right now on screen because you need to see this thing in action. So look, here's the deal. I had my eye on this gorgeous piece for the studio. Sleek, modern, you know, the kind of thing that makes people think that I've got my shit together. And then I saw the price and I said, oh no, not today, Satan. So what did I do? I typed dupe.com before the link and boom. Suddenly, I'm looking at the same vibe, the same materials, the same factory floor DNA, and at a price that doesn't make my credit card file an emancipation petition. And listen, these aren't shady knockoffs. No, half the stuff we all shop for, furniture, clothes, tech, it comes out of the same handful of factories. Companies just slap on a fancy label and suddenly you're paying because we can mark up cost. Dupe.com basically says, hey, here's the one you actually want without the financial shame spiral. So it's no wonder it's blowing up all over social media. People are saving ridiculous amounts, 60, 70, sometimes even 80%. And the site, it's totally free. Plus, this holiday season, Dupe is giving away 1 million Dupe points, and you could turn those points straight into gift cards. You'd earn just by shopping, share with friends, earn more, everybody wins. I mean, it's like if Savings and Karma had a baby. Now, here's the kicker, and this part is mandatory, so lean in. For a limited time, the first 10,000 people who go to dupe.com/beat will get 500 dupe points instantly. Free, no catch, just points that you can turn into gift cards and actually enjoy holiday shopping for once. So don't wait. Hit dupe.com/beat. Get your 500 free points and stop paying I guess that's the price now tax. That's dupe, DUPE.com/beat. Go now.
Cohen, you're a great ad reader, man. Great
Dupe.
ad reader.
Dupe. I did.
Support-
I used dupe. I got these pair of glasses. I turned around. I went into the store. Literally, it was 50% off. I literally just went dupe.com, put in the URL, and everybody knows the URL to the place that I'm talking about. And boom, it popped up. It wasn't even a different brand. It was the identical brand.
Wow. Cohen, two-finger salute. Let's just start off with the two-finger salute.
I think that's very important. So the two-finger salute goes to the entire herd of half-wits that were sitting at that table, stroking Trump, all right, like the idiots that they are, stroking his ego, allowing the last, imagine the entire cabinet sitting there with the requirement that you must turn around and appeal to the ego of the president before you say anything, if saying anything at all. And that, to me, is such a disservice to each and every one of us that it is absolutely 100% warranting that they each get the two-finger salute. To every one of that herd of half-wits, fuck you all. Your responsibility is to America and the American people, not one person.
I want to show this other clip of Hegseth where he threw the admiral under the bus. And let me just show you the way he does it too, because it's maniacal how Hegseth and Trump are throwing this admiral under the bus. Let's play it, Jeremy.
Approach. And I will just end by saying, as President Trump always has our back, we always have the back of our commanders who are making decisions in difficult situations, and we do in this case and all these strikes. They're making judgment calls and ensuring that they defend the American people. They've done the right things. We'll keep doing that, and we have their backs, Mr. President.
Good job. Thank you very much. Howard?
You see how he distances himself? Jeremy, do we have the clip of Hegseth from Fox on September 3rd, the day after the shooting took place of the ship? And this is what Hegseth, or the fishing boat, here's what Hegseth said the day after, so we can see this. This is September 3rd. So that first shooting of the fishing boat off the coast of Venezuela was September 2nd. That's when the double tap, double strike occurred. Here's what Hegseth said about the operation. Let's play it.
So the president is sending a message to other cartels, right?
A very clear one. I can tell you that was definitely not artificial intelligence. I watched it live. We knew exactly who was in that boat. We knew exactly what they were doing, and we knew exactly who they represented. And that was Tren de Aragua, a narco-terrorist organization designated by the United States, trying to poison our country with illicit drugs.
You know, Ben, the interesting thing, I've seen that video, as has our political beatdown brigaders. We've all seen that how many times? Jeremy, can you do me a favor? Can you just run it without sound for 2 seconds? Because I want to bring something to everybody's attention. I looked inside and I saw people moving in that boat. I'm trying to see where the massive amount of drugs that they're referring to, and I've looked at it. I've paused it. I've tried to enhance it and blow it up, and I just don't see what they're talking about.
Let's run it back just again. Let's run it back again. Regular.
So the president is sending a message to other cartels, right?
A very clear one. I can tell you that was definitely not artificial intelligence. I watched it live. We knew exactly who was in that boat. We knew exactly what they were doing, and we knew exactly who they represented. And that was Tren de Aragua, a narco-terrorist organization designated by the United States, trying to poison our country with illicit drugs.
I just didn't see the drugs that he's talking about.
So I think there are a few facts. So number one, what we know from Coast Guard interdiction data is that were they suspected with high degree of intelligence that these fishing boats had drugs in them before it was shoot to kill, about 20 to 25% of the interdicted boats don't have any drugs in them. So that's one of the data points that we have right there. Another data point that we have is the size of that boat. What do you say, Cohen? On the biggest end, it's about
16 feet, 20 feet.
Say 25 feet. It would require multiple refueling stops. And that couldn't get from on a map logistically from Venezuela to the United States. So maybe it was going to Trinidad and Tobago, maybe, but it was not going, couldn't get to the United States. And three, we have the capabilities through the Coast Guard of interdiction, which is what we would normally do. So I think when you add all of that data together, even if you assume that there were drugs and it was cocaine in there, the goal of interdiction is so that these low-level mules, how do we know they weren't trafficking people, assuming that they were these mules?
How do you know they didn't have lobster in there? All right, so you blew up a bunch of lobster.
And the goal ultimately, Cohen, is, and I know, Cohen, you've got to run, but I'll stay on a little bit too, just to give people a little more data if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Is to climb the ladder, gather the evidence to ultimately get the Juan Orlando Hernandezes, the leaders in prison, to be able to create systemic change. Now, to me, the drug war in general is a war that is Sisyphean. You pushing up the rock and then it comes back down, because the way the drug war, you stop one cell, another one pops up and another one pops up. And my view is you really have to deal with treatment and mental health and dealing with it, considering methods of legalization, balancing risks. But
so Ben, I'm going to hop off. I want to say thank you to our brigaders. I will see everybody with Ben on Thursday. I am going right now to interview Congressman Eric Swalwell. Hopefully we'll be calling him soon enough, Governor Swalwell. So I thank each and every one of you. Ben, I will speak to you, of course, later, as I do every day. Have a great night to all our brigaders. And thanks, Ben.
Yeah, there's really great to have you there, Cohen. Everybody, make sure you subscribe to Cohen's YouTube channel, his Substack, Mea Culpa audio podcast, as well. There's only a few more things I wanted to hit to round this episode out as well, though. Of course, today there's the big special election taking place in Tennessee for the 7th congressional district right there. And you have Afton Bain, the Democratic candidate, versus Matt Van Epps, the MAGA Republican candidate. This was a district that was plus 22 in favor of Donald Trump. And it's within the margin of error right now. People have asked me, do Democrats have a shot? It's going to be a very, very tough one. I don't want to inject the hopium in your veins. There's a shot. I'd put the odds, somewhere at 20%. But that's in that district. The fact that MAGA Republicans are sweating it, if it's the right turnout by Democrats and MAGA Republicans are not showing up, they gerrymander the crap out of Nashville and these districts in Tennessee. So they make it very, very difficult for Democrats, if not impossible. But I think it'll be a close race. Here's what Don Jr. had to say. I think we have a clip of Don Jr., how he's freaking out and MAGA's freaking out about this race. Let's play it.
Okay. And guys, if you're in Tennessee and if you're in the 7th district, or you know someone in that district, or you even know someone in Tennessee who may be in that district, call them. Make sure they get out and vote. Our superpower as conservatives is to sit it out. To say we got what we wanted in the big one for president and we're going to sit everything else out. You may end up with this lunatic representing you. So Tennessee, call everyone you know. If you know someone in the 7th district, get out there and vote. Call them. Apathy will let this person be in charge.
Now let me show you Afton Bain, what she had to say about living rent-free in Trump's head. This is Afton Bain. Let's play it.
I think we're so close. I think this race is a lot closer than they would have ever expected. Clearly, I'm living rent-free in President Trump's mind, but sir, I'm a 5'4" blonde in the South, just trying to make my community better. But okay, you do you. When we win tomorrow night, it will send a message to Washington that we are fed up and we are tired of all of this, and we deserve representation. They cut up our congressional district into 3, and it's backfiring. And now here we are, and we're going to flip a congressional district in the South. So thank you so much. Very honored to be part of this with you all. I'm so overwhelmed with gratitude. I can't even begin to tell you. So tonight we've got a rally with Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Tennessee legend Al Gore.
Just seeing like love and happiness in the room, like set aside politics. Like in my view, these are like good people just trying to like be helpful. And all the MAGAs want to do is talk about, get out of my bathroom, and we don't like migrants, and round them up and shoot them and kill them. And it's just right. It's just such a, to me, it's just such a big difference. Let's just finally talk about this. You had Donald Trump ranting and raving like a lunatic last night. I mean, he does it every day. But last night it was anywhere between if you count reposts, it was more, because it was a post every 10 seconds or so for about an hour. So on the low end, perhaps it's 160 like unique posts. But if it's the reposts and the like posts and how that Truth Social thing works, it looked like 400 posts. Like it was a post every 10 seconds. And the stuff that Trump was saying was, and I know the media is like, he says crazy shit all the time. So, whatever, it is what it is. But I mean, he's saying Michelle Obama was in charge of the Biden administration and she used an auto pen to give all of these pardons out. And then he posts that, from John Brennan was a communist traitor from being labeled the assassination czar of Obama's secret drone strike program, openly claiming to be a Muslim. John Brennan's not someone you can trust, leading a torture program that could be considered a war crime, illegal wiretapping. He lied about the amount of civilians targeted in killing drone strikes. And then he posts stuff like this. Like, I mean, it's just like quite literally crazy stuff. Breathing out CO2, essential for plants and life, planetary poison, natural human tendency to feel most comfortable around shared cultural values, Chinatown, Little Italy, even consciousness, unconscious bias. It's like stream of consciousness, like crazy stuff that this guy is posting. He posted an AI video saying that Maduro surrendered and admitted that Tren de Aragua is actually being run by Biden. 400 posts like this all night. Post. And as you saw earlier in the video, you have his cabinet like laughing when he's out there saying just objectively, not Democrat, not Republican, not independent, like an insane human being, like pathologically crazy. I don't know, I'm not trying to use these words in an offensive term. And we see it with our own eyes. And I know you can say, well, if Biden did this or Obama did this or George W., but there's no comparison to what we are seeing now on a daily basis. Before I make my first video in the morning at 4 a.m. in the morning, Trump has committed, in my opinion, multiple war crimes, has engaged in and I'm 4 a.m. on the West Coast. So I give him, that's 7 a.m. East Coast time, or if you're in Europe a little later in the day. But he's engaged in 5 to 7 things that are worse than Watergate by far. Before I wake up in the morning, Watergate won't even register as a thing in the Trump regime, because every single day they're doing things like that. But I did a bunch of interviews today, and a lot of people were saying to me, well, do you have hope, or what makes you optimistic? And what makes me optimistic, though, is that, here we are a year or so in, we're approaching Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and a new year. And I think Trump thought that he would have us all suppressed, repressed, done, controlled by now. That was his plan and Elon's plan. And I think a lot of people early on saw institutions folding. Universities, law firms, media companies, celebrities, people that they liked, sports. And it was like, oh my gosh, are we really going to be Nazi Germany? Are we really going in that direction? Are we going to fall? Midas Touch Network, I think, led the way on independent media, but we just tried to uplift, I think, the real heroes who are all of these groups on the ground, the law firms that stood their ground, the pro-democracy groups, the community organizers, and we fought, and we built community, and we built independent media, and we built this sprawling network of people power. And that gives me hope. That makes me really optimistic. We've all uplifted each other. Your resolve watching this have been so valuable. You've been so courageous. And you're often the silent hero in this story. And it's an honor that I could be your voice in a small way in helping amplify the courage that you, listening and watching this, exhibit every single day. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And I feel good. I feel optimistic. I feel people are talking about what a world looks like post-Trump. And really, since that disastrous descending of the elevator, we haven't really been able to even think about what that could be like. And I think lots of people now have to reflect on what does a post-Trump world look like? How do we rebuild from this mess? How do we hold the war criminals and people who need to be held accountable? How do we change our laws and reform our laws to avoid authoritarians doing what he's doing? That's going to be a Herculean task. But I do feel good that there is a future that involves democracy and empathy and love. And that's where I feel that we are right now as we're recording this on December 2nd. So please make sure that you subscribe right now to this YouTube channel. You may think you are subscribed because you get Midas Touch in your algorithm frequently, but you may not actually be subscribed. So double check, hit subscribe right now so you know that you're subscribed. Share this network with as many other people as you can. Subscribe to Cohen's audio podcast, Mea Culpa. Subscribe to Cohen's Substack. Subscribe to the Political Beatdown on audio as well. We appreciate you so much, and we'll see you next time. We'll keep putting up new videos here on the Midas Touch Network as always. And thank you so much for everything that you're doing for our country. We're grateful for you. We love the work you're doing. Let's stay in the fight together. I'm Ben Meiselas. This is Political Beatdown. Have a wonderful day. Shout out Midas Mighty.